Holly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom with a special Behind the Headlines. Today, our guest is one of the latest accusers of Bill Cosby. She's a Colorado woman who came forward in February, joining dozens of other women who say they were drugged and then sexually assaulted by the Hollywood superstar. Heidi Thomas joins us now. You live in Colorado. You grew up here. You're now a music teacher. Tell us a little bit about how you met Mr. Cosby to begin with.
I was pursuing a degree. I was pursuing acting as a career. My agent here in Denver called and said, there is an icon in the entertainment industry who is interested in mentoring you, in giving you some acting coaching, and I wasn't even told who it was right away.
She knew him only as Mr. C. Thomas says her Denver talent agent, Annie Maloney, arranged airfare and hotel and a 4-day mentoring trip in Reno, Nevada.
I was picked up at the airport by a car. The driver said, there's been a change of plan.
Instead of staying at a hotel, she was taken to a ranch owned by a friend of Mr. Cosby.
I was shown where my room was. That was the first time I knew that I wasn't going to be staying in the hotel. Okay, so I took my things in. I was told to get settled, come back out, bring stage makeup, bring hair accoutrements, bring the monologue I had brought, and we'd get started. And he said, let's try a cold read. So he gave me a script to look at.
The script called for the budding actress to play the role of an intoxicated woman at a bar.
He poured this glass of white wine and said, okay, use this as a prop.
Thomas says the next thing she remembered was waking up in the ranch house in bed with a naked Mr. Cosby.
I remember thinking, first of all, how did I get here? What did I say? How did it happen that he thinks that this is acceptable? It was classic victim mentality where I assumed I had done something wrong. And And I hoped I wasn't going to throw up on his bed because I was so nauseous.
Thomas remembers leaving the bedroom but doesn't remember much of her 4 days in Reno. She wondered what she had done to give Mr. Cosby the wrong impression. Is that how you felt for the last 30 years? Because you just came out recently in February.
No. I think I realized fairly early on, no, this wasn't, I didn't do anything wrong.
The Denver Post contacted Mr. Cosby's attorney and his publicist, but both declined to comment on Thomas's allegations. Criminal charges have never been filed against Mr. Cosby. Back in 1984, Thomas says her agent told her not to tell any of the other models about her meeting with Cosby, fearing allegations of favoritism. But when other accusers began coming forward last fall, Thomas learned that at least 2 other Denver women from JF Images agency said they too had been set up by the agent to meet with Mr. Cosby. We contacted Jo Farrell, the now 83-year-old founder of the agency, and we were told she is not in a condition to comment. Many of these women who have come forward, statute of limitations have long passed, and because of that, you're all referred to by the media as accusers, just instead of victims. I have no reason to doubt your story, but does that bother you?
Well, personally, it doesn't bother me because I stopped being a victim 30 years ago when I made the conscious decision that this was not going to affect my life. I was going to go on with the life goals I had made, and one person wasn't going to derail that.
After dozens of Cosby accusers came forward, Thomas decided to finally go public with her 31-year-old secret.
I wanted to support them. I wanted to come forward and say, no, they're telling the truth. I know they are. I didn't think I was going to be believed any more than any of those ladies, but I wanted them to know there's one more person who has your back, who understands what you've been through, and who believes you, just for the support.
Dozens of Bill Cosby's accusers recently gathered for a photo shoot for a story in the July issue of New York Magazine. Thomas calls the group a sad sisterhood, but being together brought comfort.
Having everybody there and not having to explain anything, and not having, and this is it's classic, but not having the "why did you wait so long to come forward" question. Everyone in that room understood that. So it was comfortable. It was as though we'd all known each other for years.
Their stories eerily similar. And while Thomas moved on from her modeling days long ago, she says if given the chance to talk to Mr. Cosby, she would have a lot of questions.
Do you remember any of us? Do you remember our faces? Do you remember looking in our eyes and seeing drugged blankness? I can't imagine interpreting that as an acceptance for what was going on. That's not consensual. That's drugged. And for anybody to be so narcissistic that they honestly believe that they can read minds of a person who is drugged, that's bordering on insane. I'd like to know if you remember any of us at all.